Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am so excited about this evening's live stream. I didn't even want to play my usual long-winded, ridiculous introduction, but it appears we have a problem already. There is no chat showing up in the live streaming software. Absolutely brilliant. Let me give it a refresh and see what that does. Can I refresh it, Mr. Producer? In the private chat, because I've got no chat. I don't know what to do now. I'm in a panic already. Anyway, who do we have? The usual suspects. Shannon Marshall. Actually, that's a name I've not seen before. Harry 7. Good evening. Right. Okay. So I'm going to refresh this and see if I can get. Right, no, I've got no chat. No chat at all. I don't know what's going on. I can watch it on... Mr. Producer, can you see the chat in StreamYard? Oh, dear. Oh, dear. This is definitely not a good start. Right, anyway, I am distracted. So I'm going to undistract myself and get straight to the point. So I have got a guest tonight who is a subscriber and viewer of the channel. And after the whole Kent Hovind / Matt Powell official debacle from a couple of weeks ago, the video and the live stream I did, this gentleman reached out to me in a message, because he had a story to tell about people like Kent Hovind and Matt Powell. And basically, what I'll let him tell the story, but basically, I said in those videos that it's not religious people that I've got a problem with. It's people trying to force religion down other people's throats. So I thought, rather than just keep the conversation to myself in direct messages, I thought I would share that conversation with you. So if the young man in question is ready, I would like to introduce Uncle Stark to you. Now, he doesn't want to be on camera, but he is more than happy to tell us all this story. So good evening, Uncle Stark. How are you, pal?
I'm getting yourself creaky.
I'm overjoyed as always, even though I'm ever so slightly perplexed that there's no side chat showing, but apparently now there is. I have no idea what's going on, but I will act like the true professional I am and completely ruin the whole live stream and waffle on anyway. So
it seems to be a common occurrence in your live streams. Something always goes wrong.
It does. It wouldn't be a creaky live unless there was some sort of technical issue, but we will not let it distract us. So if the chat has just appeared, thank goodness for that. So if we start off by basically, so I'm sure you remember the message that you sent to me, kind of outlining your experiences based around people like Kent Hovind and Matt Powell. But in your case, the person in question, am I allowed to say who the person is?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, the person is your own father. So would you like to sort of give us a broad stroke of your experience based around being an atheist and having a father who is, would it be fair to say, a religious extremist?
I think we could say religious extremist with a fair amount of certainty.
Yeah.
Before I continue, I just want to say it's an absolute pleasure to be on the show with you. I really enjoy your content, and I look forward to it. I have been excited about this conversation the entire week. I phoned up my sisters, my mom,
yeah.
Everybody except the person in question is watching the stream at the moment.
Oh, good.
So huge shout out to the fam. So I think I'll just start out with a little bit about myself. So here in South Africa, things are still fairly conservative. You've got a a really good chance of walking into a Christian of some form, you know, in your day-to-day life, be it at work, be it at school, anywhere. Even the African tribes here are still very into their traditions and stuff like that. So it's a very old school across the board. So I was raised in this religious household, but there wasn't really at the time a huge emphasis on the religious aspect of life. You know, but we were Christian, but you know, we didn't really practice it that much.
Yeah.
So throughout my years, my dad, I think since I remember, he has been part of the Freemasons. I've been doing research on the Freemasons myself, and you know, I don't really have a lot of information on them. They're very a secret society, and whenever I probed my dad about that, he'd be like, "No, I can't tell you, but you're more than welcome to join." Around the age of 16, I was interested in joining, and my mom said, "No, there's no way you're going to be joining the lodge meetings and stuff like that." She basically threatened to disown me.
Right.
But yeah, so it seems that my dad, in general, is prone to these types of things. You know, to looking to people for answers and stuff like that. So anyway, my journey to becoming an atheist is probably around 10, 12 years old at this stage. I can't really point to one specific occurrence that led me to becoming an atheist. It's just been a slow decline in faith. And as I started reading the Bible more, I didn't agree with what it said. And eventually, me and my eldest sister, we got into these huge discussions, and she introduced me to Matt Powell. And I think from there, I was a full-blown atheist. It's something that I didn't really discuss with my dad, obviously. But you know, the rest of my family are fairly in the know about my feelings toward religion.
Yeah.
So from my dad's side, I don't know how long he's been part of this group. It's a new group that he's a part of now. I believe they don't call themselves a church. They call themselves a foundry. The people who head the organization aren't really priests. I know one of them is a lawyer. But these people have all the answers. So my father always speaks very proudly of knowing these two gentlemen in particular, and you know, their wisdom when it comes to the Bible and so on, because apparently they speak to his level of understanding of when it comes to the Bible. And the past few years, it's been becoming progressively worse in a sense that you can't really speak to my dad without the topic of religion coming up. And he has tried to get me, you know, to join the foundry and stuff, and you know, to talk to these gentlemen in order to build my faith up and stuff, because he is obviously under the impression that I am a Christian, but I'm not going to church because he knows of an event that led me to not go to church anymore. So I'm not really interested in meeting these people, and the reason I think it's a, you know, like a religious cult, and my sisters are in agreement with me, is because of the influence these people have over his life. So I've explained that my dad is a Freemason, was a Freemason, and he had all these. I remember my sister found this little notebook, which was written in code. And he had these rings and these sashes and all these things. So I assume he was fairly high up in the lodge. I'm not sure. And after he met these people, after he became part of the foundry, or the children of the first faith, whatever they want to call themselves, he got rid of all those things. He didn't throw it away. He burned it. You know, burnt all those rings, the sashes, the notebooks, and everything to do with Freemasonry. My dad was an avid whiskey drinker. He enjoyed his whiskey. He had like collector's bottles of whiskeys that he also just chucked away, because according to these people, drinking is like a taboo. He didn't even want to give me a bottle, you know, because in the Bible it says you can't really, you can't even give people, you know, alcohol or something like that. I don't even know where it says that, but apparently that's it. it's gotten to the point as well where my half brother and half sister, they're so my dad had a separate marriage before marrying my mom eventually. Um, that he doesn't is not like ignoring them, but he is avoiding them because they celebrate Halloween, for instance. So
Hmm.
it's a very serious thing that these people have that sort of influence over him, that he would avoid seeing his own flesh and blood at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from what I could tell, I did some research on these people themselves. Um, from the base, it looks fairly vanilla. It's nothing like helter skelter or anything crazy like that. Um, but they do have like some extreme beliefs when it comes to religion and the Bible. That's why when you did the video on Matt Powell, when he said the Columbine massacre happened because of evolution and all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy crap like that, it really it really reminded me of how my father views things and how the people that he's involved with views these things. And it came down to one thing that that video tried to achieve, in my opinion. It wanted to scare people, like, ooh, watch out for these atheists and these evolutionists, and it wanted to spread hatred,
Hmm.
uh, in my honest opinion.
Yeah.
But then, it begs the question, and that's why I posted the message in your Discord
Hmm.
and shared the story, because it's a very big thing for me. And I did also speak to my fiance. She's absolutely lovely and gorgeous, and she's the best woman in the world. Anybody who knows her will tell you that. Um, but she unfortunately does suffer from bipolar depression,
Hmm.
and it's something that we've been dealing with since we started dating. So we've been together for a good while now. So I spend a lot of time trying to build her up and build her confidence, and it really hit home to me when we got engaged and my dad and my stepmom came to visit us, and they wanted to speak to us. I thought it was going to be like, congratulations and looking forward to the wedding, those types of conversation that you'd expect. But it turned into this thing where my dad preached to me and my fiance, and sort of went on this tangent about me being the head of the house,
Hmm.
and she needs to like obey me and be subservient to me. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, so obviously in that moment I started getting upset, but I didn't want to like make a scene. Um, like I said, I don't want to destroy the relationship with my father at the end of the day by revealing the fact that I am an atheist. But
Yeah.
afterwards, I was very upset with the whole ordeal, because it kind of ruined the evening. Um, and that's not what I want my fiance to think our relationship is. I don't want her to think that I'm the head of the house. That's not how I want to be in this relationship. I want us to be
Yeah.
completely equal. It needs to be 50-50 or 100-100, if you
Yeah.
can put it like that. Um,
So can I just jump in and ask you? So when the topic gets discussed between you and your dad, and he asks you, for example, why you don't go to church, you said that you haven't told him that you no longer believe in God, because I don't, and I know this sounds contradictory, but I do not refer to myself as an atheist. Now, I know that by definition, an atheist is somebody without a belief in a god or gods, but I think labeling myself as an atheist just makes me belong to another group, which is the same as belonging to a group of Christians or a group of Muslims. Or, do you know what I mean? So I choose not to refer to myself as an atheist. So when your dad says to you, why do you not go to church? What do you say to him?
so the experience I had, I was in high school at the time, and I dated this girl who was very religious, and I went to church with her on Sundays. And the one evening they were doing this preach, and I was barely, paying attention, and I was just sitting there. And what caught me was that the preacher said something along the lines of, "Prove your faith by giving money to the church." And I think that's where I started to realize that the church is a man-made construct, and it's prone to being corrupt.
Yeah.
So whenever that topic comes up, so they know that I have a slight in the church because of that experience.
Yeah.
And I don't trust in that type of organization, because it's created and handled by man, and it's prone to being corrupt. So they do understand that. But I always veer the topic off because I know a fair bit about the Bible. So when the discussion does pop up, I can have a conversation with my dad about it without seeming, antagonizing or aggressive about it. But I normally go the route of the way I practice my religion is very private to me.
Yeah.
I don't really want to. I don't want to. It's not something that I share, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with worshiping God in a private manner, and that's how I normally swivel my way out of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I say as well. I know that some people get upset with me because they think that I am saying that everybody that believes in God or is a Christian or another form of religious person, they seem to think that I'm saying that they're all bad. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. My issue is when people like Kent Hovind and the prosperity preachers like Kenneth Copeland and Benny Hinn and people like that, they're literally forcing it down your throat and expecting you to pay them for the privilege. Because when the whole COVID-19 outbreak, one of the famous quotes from Kenneth Copeland was, "It doesn't matter about COVID-19. Don't you dare stop donating to my church, because I'm only a billionaire and I need to be more than a billionaire." So even though people were, fearful for their homes and how they were going to support their families, his priority was to make sure that they didn't stop. I think the term is tithing. So it's donating to the church. So is that the sort of church that your dad's involved in? Is it very money orientated as well? I know you mentioned that they ask for donations a lot, but is it all based around that, you think?
So from what I can see, because that's something that I did ask my dad once, is it's a foundry. They don't do things the same way the church do, but I do think there are donations involved. But where it becomes a thing, and I remember telling you I was looking for this book that my dad gave me about what one of those guys, I can't remember which one it was, but they wrote about Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought about 10 copies of these books to give to everybody. He gave me one, he gave all of our siblings ones, their people's ones, the children ones. He gave the book to everybody. And that's where it becomes a thing. So it's not like you buy one book and you read it and maybe pass it on. He bought like a few of them. So I do think that there is a fair bit of money involved, but I don't know to what extent really.
Yeah. So you wouldn't say confidently that the church that your dad's involved in is 100% financially driven, then it's just a part of it?
I think it's more a part of it, because from what I could see, it's not about the donations that much. It's truly for them about the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's the other point I raised in that message on Discord, is when you deal with these types of people, with Kent Hovind, Matt Powell, the people that my dad deals with, and my dad himself, if you take the Bible that literally, then we've got stuff to talk about, because the Bible has a lot of things that are not really open to interpretation. I mean, it's standing right there. And the Bible in general isn't a very woman-friendly book either.
I've got a completely different opinion to you on the Bible. I think that everything in the Bible is open to interpretation. And what I mean,
Depending on how you see it, yeah.
yeah, what I mean by that is, some of the, obviously it's many, many years since I've even looked at a Bible, but Moses parting the Red Sea, did he literally stand there and cause the oceans to open? No, of course he didn't, because that's a physical impossibility. So,
Yeah.
is there some other meaning around that passage where Moses, parted the seas? So, and that's what I mean about it can be open to interpretation.
Yeah, so where the question comes in is, how do you view the Bible? Is it an historical book, or is it metaphorical? And these people tend to view it as a historically correct, factual, and stuff like that. And that's where we can then start having these questions.
Mm.
Because then they view it as Moses did, literally part the Red Seas.
Yeah.
They don't view it as a metaphor for something like, parting some kind of problem, causing a divide, or opening a path to something.
Yeah, and
It's
that's what I
literally
mean about it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about it being open to interpretation. You may read that passage and think, oh yeah, I think that this is a metaphor for, whatever it may be. But then somebody like Matt Powell or your own dad would think that Moses literally opened the sea up so that people could cross.
Yeah. And that's why I say then we've got some questions, because purely if you want to go into a debate about the Bible, when people say, okay, now listen, it is an historically accurate book, it's factual, then we can dissect what the Bible says, and we can provide evidence to support, or maybe disregard the claim.
Yeah.
Which has been happening. Whenever somebody was trying to prove something in the Bible, it hasn't really gone that well. But if it's metaphorical, then you can use it as your guideline. But for me, the Bible is a very amoral book. There's a lot of some disgusting things that stands in the Bible, and I've gotten a few of these passages out. If you want me to read some of them. Just a few verses that really bothered me. So, for instance, 1 Timothy 2 verse 12 says, "But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence." Which is again something that I find problem with. I've got a huge problem with something like that, because how do we interpret that? To me, it's as it stands there. Deuteronomy in the Bible is a whole mess of controversial things. It says if a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, so if he forces himself on her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has violated her. He may not divorce her all of his days. So that's only if they're found, right? So if they're not found, it's quite fine to go and force yourself on the woman. But if you're found, then you have to marry her. And also a few years ago, I challenged my dad on one of these things in the Bible. I think I challenged him on Exodus 21, where they talk a lot about how to handle your slaves and how you can trick your slaves into being your slaves forever.
Yeah.
And the response I got was, do not question the word of God.
Yeah.
So you can't really have a discussion about it. You can't raise this concern.
No.
And that's also what's one of the big things that convinced me to just turn my back on religion, because why can't I question it? I'm a free thinker.
Yeah.
I've got questions about these things, and if you want me to be part of this faith, then you need to explain these things to me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of verses like these. But in preparation for this conversation, I did actually watch one of the sermons that this church has on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I couldn't bring myself to watching any more of it, because it really infuriated me at the end of the day. So I sent you some of the bullet points that I wrote down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you have had a thorough read through them. I don't want to take too much time, but there was a heavy focus on the end is coming. We're living in our last days at the moment. They say Jesus isn't coming; he's already on his way, and I think that's the fear mongering aspect of it,
Yeah.
which also reminded me about Kent Hovind and Matt Powell, how they
Yeah.
try to scare people into joining their type of belief system, and it's the exact same thing with my dad and the foundry, or whatever they want to call themselves. But then there was an interesting verse that the preacher opened with. He said that the Bible contains nothing that cannot be read and understood. And I thought to myself, but if that's the case, why are there so many different denominations of the Christian faith? If everything could be understood and everything was plain and simple, then everybody would have been on the same page about it.
Yeah. I think, based on what you just said, I think I saw Ricky Gervais say this when he was defending is a poor choice of words, but he was being asked about atheism in a television interview, and he said the only difference between him and a religious person, apparently there are around 3,000 different gods that are worshipped by varying religions throughout the world. And he said the only difference between an atheist and a religious person is that they believe in one less God, because a Christian will believe in God. I was raised Catholic, so I believed in God, but that's a different God to somebody who follows the Hindu faith, for example. So who's right and who's wrong? Either there is a God and you can prove there's a God, or there isn't a God of any description. It can't be, oh, our God is much better than your God. Oh, no, we can't prove our God either, but he's definitely better than your God.
And that's the problem with religion.
Yeah.
And not like with having a religion. The problem with religion is when people start arguing about their religions. And that has led to some terrible atrocities throughout the history of the earth, and I think it will continue to until religion eventually ceases to be. But I mean, then other prejudices would still be at play and stuff like that. But religion is definitely a problem for me in that sense. But again, like, I've got no problem with people being religious. Like, I respect you, and I respect your beliefs, and I don't have any problem discussing it. But it's like you said, when people try to force it down your throat.
So
there are people like that.
If I was to put you on the spot now and said, give me, because I know what it is with me, give me, it can be 2 reasons or 1 reason why you dislike religion, because you clearly do. For me, it's they use fear. So if you don't believe in God, you're going to hell. Hell was only created by religious people as a form of control, in my opinion.
I'm in 100% accord with that.
Worship God, or you're going to a place that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I've said this multiple times, the fact that they try to force you to believe in it, because if you don't believe in God, you can't possibly be as good a person as I am. So does your dad think that people who don't believe in God in the same way as he does are somehow not good people?
I wouldn't necessarily say not good people, but I would say lost, perhaps.
Right.
And I think that's why he ended up, becoming part of this group or this cult or whatever, is because he felt that the church has lost their way. So obviously, in South Africa, there's been a lot of movement towards a more progressive nation and progressive society. And I think it was one of the churches of I can't remember which church, which appointed a homosexual preacher.
Right.
And they had huge issues with that. because it's obviously it's a sin. And it's not even a sin; it's a disgusting sin according to the Bible.
Yeah.
So they started moving away from churches in general, because they became more inclusive towards people with different ideals. Another thing that he would often cite is how the Bible is being translated to accommodate these liberal ideas,
Yeah.
like allowing homosexual people into the church. There's a few topics that he rose one night, but I can't remember all of them, about how they're translating the Bible to be more accommodating to a wide array of people. So that's just religion evolving, I guess. But so you said, if you can put me on the spot, why do I dislike religion? So it's I'll agree with you on point number one. It's definitely a fear mongering thing.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that religion was instituted to control the masses. I don't think it has a lot of merit other than that. But I think the big thing that tends to annoy me is how religious people would judge.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a big reason for me, veering away from it, because I used to be that person, Creaky. I'm not going to lie. When I was still religious myself and in school, I actually, there was one kid that we believed to be homosexual,
Yeah.
and we picked on this kid.
Yeah.
And I said some terrible things to him, and I feel terrible about that today.
Yeah.
And my biggest motivation for doing that was because the Bible said it's wrong. It did turn out to be homosexual, but that's besides the point. The point was that I was being a disgusting person.
Yeah, but you were also a child. How many of us said really inappropriate, hurtful, stupid things when we were children? All of us.
Yeah, but I think if the religion wasn't a part of that, I may have been. You may have treated it differently. You may have come up for the person and defended them.
Can you see the screen, Stark? Somebody's just commented something, and it's a good comment. So the comment said, "My mother's faith gave her the strength to go on after my father died. I would never have mocked her for thinking that way. Faith has its good side for sure." Now, this is another thing, and I've said this in videos. If somebody gets comfort from being a Christian, from believing in God, it doesn't matter whether I think that God is real or not.
No, not at all.
If a person gets comfort and sort of, that warm, fuzzy feeling from believing in God, that's perfectly fine. But then somebody else commented, it was a little bit further down. I don't know if I'll be able to find it now. It was, is there a could we consider there to be a difference between religion and faith? Because all faith is believing in something. And I don't think faith requires any evidence.
That's the thing about faith. Faith is believing in something without evidence. That's what it comes down to. And religion is based on faith. I don't really know if they can exist. I don't think I definitely don't think religion can exist without faith.
Yeah.
But definitely. If the question I always ask people if we get into this conversation is, are you a religious person to be better, or are you a religious person to feel better? And if you are a religious person to be better, then you're wrong. You're doing the wrong thing. And I actually had a discussion with a person exactly like that. But if you're doing it to feel better because you find comfort in thinking that God exists and believing that God exists, and it helps you through difficult times, then by all means, I've got no problem with that.
My entire family, my parents, grandparents, my aunties and uncles are all Catholic and are still Catholic. I don't ram my lack of belief in God down their throat.
No.
And I think that religious people should return the favor, I suppose, and not do that exact thing to people who choose not to believe in God.
That's the thing, and but when it comes to the Christian faith, I know it says that you need to spread the word of God and you need
Yeah.
to help your neighbor, and that's why I think Christians are so heavy on doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't say Christians like all of the Christians, but
Yeah.
you definitely do get those Christians
Yeah.
that want to ram those things down your throat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why when I make videos about people like Kent Hovind and Matt Powell, I generally try to refer to them as religious people. I try not to refer to them as Christian, because that implies that I think all Christians are the same, which I absolutely don't.
No,
Like I say,
definitely not.
my
Those
family,
people are obviously extremists.
yeah, absolutely. And that's where my dislike of that type of religious person lies. The fact that they are better than me because they believe in God, I don't. And that when I say I don't, they only come back is to tell me I'm going to go to hell. Cool. Because it's not real anyway. Why would I need to fear a place that doesn't exist?
I always make the joke, reserve a seat for me next to the aircon, please.
Yeah, what are they going to tell me next? That Santa Claus and Easter Bunny are going to mug me and beat me up the next time I'm walking down the road by myself? Because I'd have no reason to be fearful of that either. It's exactly the same thing, in my opinion.
No, and I do agree with that. But that's the only thing they have, because when I'm part of a gaming community on Discord, and the one night I had a discussion with one of the guys there, and it was a very civil discussion. He's a Christian, I'm not, and it was a discussion about why you believe and why I don't. The discussion went out without edge. The following that day, it was the two of us again in the channel, and another person joined in. And they were talking about things going on in America and the political state there and all of those things. And then all of a sudden, this guy, he threw a statement along the lines like, he can stand anybody, but he hates liberals and atheists.
Yeah.
And so I was sat there like, hey,
yeah,
you can't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it became an argument.
Yeah, saying that he hates atheists isn't a very Christian thing to say. It's in itself.
No, it's definitely not.
What happens to, God loves all man, and as a Christian or a religious person who follows God, shouldn't they be,
more compassionate,
example and acting, more friendly and more caring and compassionate towards other people, whether they believe in God or not?
That's what you'd expect, right? But it really turns out like that, because the argument that me and this guy had was very heated.
Yeah.
And he didn't really, because me as I consider myself a scientific enthusiast. I don't take anything on face value. So it's like, okay, where's the proof?
Yeah.
Where is your evidence for the existence of God?
Yeah.
And he told me that they found the blood of Christ. There's a video of it, and I was like, but if they did, why isn't it like worldwide news? Because that's groundbreaking stuff. And I asked him, okay, send me this video. I want to see it, and then I'll give you my opinion on the matter. And to this day, he hasn't sent me that video.
No, obviously. So could you pick out not necessarily a specific moment, but a sort of a period in time, whether it be over the course of a few years or a few months or a few weeks, where you finally came to the conclusion that there's just no way that there can be this deity that's everywhere and nowhere, controlling everyone? And could you sort of put your finger on that as far as when it was?
Well, it's like I said earlier, it's been a steady decline for a couple of years, and then eventually I came to the conclusion. I remember starting to suffer from sleep paralysis. And it's when your body's asleep and your mind is awake, and you see all these kind of freaky stuff.
I've experienced it a couple of times, and I'm not afraid to say it is probably one of the most terrifying things that has ever happened to me.
Definitely. The things you see, the things your mind makes you see,
Yeah,
is terrifying.
yeah,
When this happened to me, I was convinced that I was being haunted by demons.
yeah.
Um, I went full on, slept with my Bible open on my chest. I
Hmm.
called my priest and asked him to come bless my house. He came and we chatted, and he went on about how it's possible for demons to haunt you and how it's possible for them to possess you and
Yeah,
stuff like that. And then eventually, um, I did some research and I found out that I was suffering from sleep paralysis. I
yeah,
was like, but okay, this makes sense to me. Um, and I've gotten to so good at waking myself up when I start having a nightmare or I start feeling, because it normally it has like a tell when you start to my body tends to vibrate a lot.
right.
So then I know, okay, listen, I'm going to see some freaky stuff that I don't want to see right now, and then I wake myself up. And I came to the conclusion that my priest was wrong,
Yeah,
and I wondered why he was wrong. So then I started doing my independent things. I still believed, but then I disregarded the Bible. I said, I don't think the Bible is real. I don't think the Bible, or not real, but I don't think the Bible is true. And then I came to the conclusion that if the Bible isn't true, then why do I believe in it? Why do I believe in what the Bible says I should believe in?
yeah.
And I then became agnostic. So I was sort of on the fence about it. And I'm still open to the idea of a god or a deity existing
Hmm.
or it having existed. But don't see any reason to continue believing that at
Hmm.
this point in my life.
But don't you feel that it would need to be proven to you for you to go back to believe in it? Because I've always said, the same as even with the flat Earth stuff, and obviously with flat Earth, I'm obviously saying it, tongue in cheek. But if
Yeah,
somebody can prove to me beyond any shadow of a doubt that the Earth is flat, then that's fine. The Earth is flat. It isn't, and nobody will ever be able to prove that. So I've got nothing to worry about. But I
yeah,
wouldn't mind, doing a 180 on my position on the shape of the Earth if there was evidence to prove that I've been wrong all these years. And I feel exactly the same way about God. You can't, because a lot of the arguments we hear for proof about God is, yeah, but, I was ill and I prayed and then I wasn't ill. That's not proof of God. That's not proof of
no,
anything. You got better. And
no,
that,
yeah. So I agree with that. Like I said, I'm open to the existence of God. Can we prove the existence of God? So firstly, does God interact with our reality in any provable way or
no,
any visible way that can be demonstrably proven? And yes, the answer is no. We can't see it.
exactly.
So if then I am left to the conclusion that God does not interact with our realm whatsoever, and then it's why is it important then? Um, so yeah, I don't know what would convince me, God exists, but I'm sure God would know.
Yeah, yeah. If only was really there.
Yeah.
Because
But
with me, like I say, I was raised in a Catholic family. I went to Catholic school, and I was the kid, the annoying little git that used to sort of, when we were talking about Noah's Ark, I would ask the questions to, and bearing in mind in Catholic school, most of my teachers were nuns. So, I would say, sister, so how did every animal from everywhere in the world get on the ark when it only left from one country? And I was always just told to shut up. That kind of thing.
and that's another problem with religion. It doesn't teach you to think about stuff.
No,
So and for me, like, it's completely the opposite. So I believed that stuff. I was like,
yeah,
hey, this must be true.
yeah,
Um, but the big thing for me as well is I never felt like I had that relationship with God.
yeah,
So it always felt to me like everybody was like pretending. That's how it
yeah,
felt. So as a child, obviously, I believed all these stuff, and then eventually, as I became older, it didn't make a lot of sense to me why you would believe these things.
Yeah.
But then I was hit with the "you don't question the Bible"
Yeah.
statements. And that's where religion is a problem to me, because it forces you to stop asking questions and just accept whatever is being told to you.
It sounds to me as if you're exactly the same as me, and you grew out of it.
I would say that. I definitely grew out of the religion, and I definitely went past it and put that way behind me.
Yeah.
But with my dad, it keeps pulling me back, but not back in the sense that I need to believe it.
Yeah.
Another thing that that was said in the sermon is that the preacher met God personally, and I had some questions about that one. Because if he met God personally, I would really like to know how.
Yeah.
I think everybody would like to know how you can meet God personally, but that's what they tell the congregation or my
especially as
father.
most religious people, when you press them on proof for God, they say that sort of what I said earlier, that God is everywhere and nowhere. He exists outside of the what we understand as reality. So he's fake. Then he's a made up thing.
That's how I feel about it. I mean, that's why I said if he exists outside of our reality, why is he important then? I don't need to worry about him if it doesn't interact with my realm whatsoever in any demonstrable way.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'd have a lot of these throwaway statements. Oh no, I had trouble financially, and God helped me out of it. It's like, sure, how? I've got some financial issues myself. Can you throw me a bone?
Exactly. Who hasn't? And that's the thing. See, because what you just said there perfectly illustrates, in my opinion, faith. Because a religious person who's, let's say, they've got a debt and they can't see their way out of it, but they keep going to church, they keep praying to God, and then the debt issue over a period of time is able to be sorted out and they're no longer in debt. They claim that it was God that got them out of debt. No, it wasn't.
No, definitely not. But that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for. It's the same thing with when you go to a psychic and legitimately believe that this person has psychic ability of some kind.
That's another subject that really gripped my shit, and I could talk about that for a long time. Anybody who claims they're a psychic is a charlatan and a liar, and if they charge for their so-called gift, they are basically taking advantage of people who are naive and gullible enough to believe that nonsense is real.
Precisely. But if you go to a psychic and a psychic says, listen, you're going to start dating a girl with beautiful blonde hair, you're going to go out and find that woman. And when you do, you're going to be like, the psychic said this is going to happen. Like, you subconsciously move towards that because it's stuck in the back of your mind because you believe this person prophesied something.
Yeah, you're filling in the blanks yourself. And we've got 333 people watching. Illuminati confirmed. But yeah, that's what it is. It's the same as what I just said about people, I'm in debt, now I'm not in debt, must have been God. I went to see a psychic when I just said sidekick. I meant psychic. I went to see a psychic when I was 17 years old, and she told me I was going to meet the woman of my dreams and get married and have children. No shit, Sherlock.
It's such a obvious statement to make.
Exactly. Again, I worked with a guy, and his wife was hugely involved in a spiritual church in Swansea, where I live. They were lovely people, right? I really, really liked them. But she was so full of shit. You know, or every time she saw me, I'm getting a message. I've got my grandparents are still alive. I don't know anyone dead. I'm not old enough to have any family members who have died yet. But it was always, she always somehow had this message for me. And it was like, okay, tell me something really specific, because, you know, there are going to be things that you know about your future. It is future wife, isn't it?
Yeah.
That only you know about her. So you go and find a psychic and challenge them to pluck that thing that only you know about your future wife and tell it to you exactly as you know it to be. It'll never happen, because
No,
it's all
definitely not.
bullshit.
No, definitely. The big thing is also the James Randi Foundation. I mean, if they could prove this, go grab your $1 million. Go for it.
Exactly.
Never been claimed.
It never got claimed. It never got claimed. Right. I think we should maybe start taking some questions, Stark. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, sure. 100%. Let's do it.
So if anybody in the side chat has got any questions to put to Stark based around the discussion we've been having, Dan Palmer is asking me what's my opinion on tarot cards, since we're talking about readers. It's a load of old shit, Dan. There is no way to tell the future. There is no way to contact people that are dead, because once you're dead, you get buried in a hole in the ground and you cease to exist. You decompose, you become worm food. So anybody that's using tarot cards to predict your future, but I don't think I've ever said this on a live stream before, and I'm only saying this while we are waiting for some questions to come in. I used to do a lot of close-up magic and card magic, and I was a member of, not the Magic Circle, I wasn't that good, but it was like the South Wales equivalent of the Magic Circle. And all these psychic mediums do is, we all know they use cold reading and hot reading, this kind of thing, but it's all just suggestive questioning. They steer the conversation, and if they say something and it doesn't get a hit, they never say they're wrong. They just tell you to hold that thought. Maybe it'll come to you later. When what they really should be saying is, oh crap, that was an epic fail, wasn't it? I hope he didn't notice. I'll try something else. But it's the same sort of thing. They can't prove any of what they say in the same way that there isn't a person on the face of the earth that can prove that God is real. And why can't they prove that God's real, Uncle Stark?
Because he's not.
Exactly. It really is that simple. Some Kelly Listen To says, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if God exists or not. Live your life like kindness matters. And if he is at the other end, you should be good, right? Listen, I don't know what your opinion is on this, Stark, but this is another thing that really winds me up about religious people when they say that, and I'm referring in particular to, I don't know if you've seen the videos I made about Theophilus. He is absolutely batshit crazy, absolutely insane. And what he basically, he's like every other person that follows religion in the same way as he does. And they seem to think that unless you're a religious person and you believe in God, you've got no moral compass. You can't possibly be a good person. Look at me. I'm used to people thinking I'm not a good person. Think that if you want to. I really don't care. I know what I'm like as a human being, and it's not what this may imply. But religious people think that people who don't believe in God can't possibly have any morals, anything to make them a nice or a good person.
But that's where, again, ask that question. If you use the Bible as a moral compass, then I've got questions for you, because the Bible has a lot of controversial things in it, and it's a very amoral book.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're using the Bible to be your moral compass, you're going to be oppressive towards women. You're going to be oppressive towards people that are different towards you, or believe different than you do, or look different than you do. So that also, it's also a problem that I have. But to respond to that statement, I think in general you should be a good person. You shouldn't be a good person because you believe, listen, I'm going to go to heaven if I'm a good person, and I'm going to hell if I'm not. You should be a good person. End of the discussion.
Religion has nothing at all to do with being a good person or being a bad person. It's completely irrelevant. But we did have a question on the screen just now. There we are. So the first question's come in from Farron Tilly, sorry. And it's a question. I'm gonna let you answer this question because I'm getting on my high horse. What do you think of people that 100% claim that they've seen God?
So I won't flat out say that a person who claims that they 100% have seen the face of God or have seen God or angels or whatever. I will believe that you had an experience, and I would believe that it was a very vivid experience. But if you can't just come to me and say, okay, listen, I have 100% seen God. You just need to take my word for it. You still need to prove it to me. So I'm not going to say they're full of shit, but I will say that they maybe had an experience that they cannot explain, and maybe they have classified that experience as being of God or being God.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe them. I don't believe the claim they're making, if I can put it like that.
Yeah. And see, this is where my inability to filter myself comes in, because if somebody said to me, I've seen God, without any hesitation or thought, I would just say, no, you haven't, unless you can prove it. I can't self-filter. If that makes sense.
I choose the language of, listen, I believe that you've had an experience, but how can you prove to me that what you have seen was in fact God? That's what it comes down to, but I don't believe them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next question, Mr. Producer Man. Do you think scams like psychics will become more common with the advancement of entertainment technology, such as VR live streaming? That's a very off-topic question, but what do you think, Stark?
I actually think that psychics and soothsayers and stuff are actually on the decline, especially in your more first world countries, and I don't think it's going to become more of a thing as technology advances, unless people do it for the lols. There's definitely some gullible people still out there, but I don't think it's going to become a big thing.
I know 100% for a fact why psychics claim to be psychic.
I'll share it.
It's because they can charge people money.
And they have stuff like the internet.
Yeah, exactly. It must be so difficult for psychics now with Instagram and Facebook and everybody being everywhere on the internet. It must take them at least 5 minutes to find out everything they possibly need to know about their next client.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's not even that, but the way they fished this information out of you, I don't know if you know Penn and Teller's show Bullshit.
Yeah.
The very first episode of season 1, their pilot episode, they took on psychics. And it legit showed the psychic going to the people they're about to do a reading on and asking them, who would you like to communicate with?
Yeah.
And this one dude was sitting there and he told her, I want to speak to my mother. And then, lo and behold, she had his mother with her.
Exactly. How amazing.
And he was in tears, and it was such a traumatizing and emotional experience for him. But yeah, with the internet, it's just all the much easier to fish out that information. They've always had these nifty tricks to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Open questions and that kind of thing. They rarely ask a question where you can answer yes or no. And what really annoys me about it is they are preying on the most vulnerable people. It's almost always people who are looking for an answer. And I know we all are, but we have to figure it out ourselves sometimes. There isn't a psychic medium anywhere on the planet. Well, there isn't a psychic medium anywhere on the planet because they all just pretend. But they can't sort of... I know what I want to say, but I can't get the words out. They're telling you what they know you want to hear when you're at your most vulnerable. So if somebody, when my father-in-law passed away 10 years ago, my mother-in-law was distraught. She lost her right arm, and she became obsessed in psychic magazines and this kind of thing because she was so grief-stricken. She was allowing herself to be taken advantage of by these charlatans, and it was never free.
No, definitely not.
And anyway, that's really off topic, and I can feel myself getting wound up. Next question, Mr. Producer. Do you or Stark think we will ever understand our brain enough to find the hole people try to fill with faith? And if so, should we work to remove it? And that's from Harry 7.
So yeah, I don't think it's a question about understanding the brain necessarily. I think it's a question about understanding the world you live in and the reality around you. And we've been, as time has moved on, we've made God smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's why they always call it the God of the gap. So when we're confronted with something that we or science cannot fully explain yet, and that is what happened before the Big Bang, for instance, we don't know. And then people go, well, that's where God is. I don't think that's something to do with your brain. I just think that's something to do with how you understand your reality and the world around you. And yeah, the second part of it, should we work to remove it? I don't think so, no. I mean, believing something on faith is perfectly fine at the end of the day, but it's how you apply that knowledge or how you apply that belief.
Yeah.
So I don't think having faith is wrong whatsoever. I mean, you can have faith in a lot of things. You can have faith in people. I can have faith in believing that somebody won't harm me physically. I can have faith in believing that somebody won't stab me in the back, and I can have faith that somebody would do the right thing when presented with a conundrum. You know, so I don't think that's wrong. I don't think that's a problem.
But Harry, doesn't your question imply that people are predisposed to being religious rather than it being is it a cultural thing? Are people who are born into religious families obviously gonna then, in most cases, go on to be religious themselves? Some will grow out of it like I did. Like I said, all my family are Catholic, but I got to the age and it was like, no way. There's no way this is real. So is it cultural, or is it sort of that some people are predisposed to being religious? I don't know.
I mean, I think that some people are more prone to believing certain types of things than others. I mean, it's the same thing with flat earthers. They're more prone to believing conspiracy theories because of the emotional thing. I had a brief discussion on your Discord with somebody the other day who made mention of that. I think definitely some people are more prone to believing stuff, and it's definitely a cultural thing, because obviously you as a parent are teaching your child some things, so you're going to obviously impose your views on them. And they will end up maybe adopting those views, and certain people will grow out of it.
Because it's talking about flat earthers, there's something called, I'm trying to find it now. I've read the article before and I can find little bits of it now, but there's a psychological, not necessarily a diagnosis, but something psychologists refer to as bullshit receptivity. And it means that people are predisposed to believing in conspiracy theories like the earth being flat and that kind of thing. So maybe some things you could be predisposed to, but I don't know, Harry. I don't know if religion is one of those things. I think it's more likely that somebody who was brought up in a religious family will go on to be religious, or like myself and Uncle Stark, they will grow out of it.
I think I agree. I think it's possible for religion to be part of that as well. but yeah, I'm not the expert on that.
No. I'm not an expert on anything. I just pretend I am. Next question, please, Mr. Producer. Why do so many think the King James Version Bible is the all singing, all dancing version of an incorrectly translated set of scrolls? Now, the King James Bible is the one that most of these Christian extremists seem to reference. So
It's the one that I used. It's the one that my
Yeah.
dad uses. So we all use the King James version, but I don't know why. I to this day don't understand why this Bible is the one.
Yeah, and I've seen this lots of times before, that the King James Bible is more than likely badly translated.
I think any translation from those scrolls, especially by today's standard, is going to be badly translated. I think a lot of stuff gets missed in translation.
Yeah, exactly. So my answer to that would be, I don't know really why so many people hold the King James Bible in such high regard, because it's just the Bible. It's a storybook translated badly. A lot of people seem to think, from thousands and thousands of years ago. So
my sister actually just sent me a message and said that she thinks that South Africans are prone to the King James version because we used to be a British colony. That makes sense. My sister having her input.
No problem. Next question, please, Mr. Producer. Do you find issue with religion, the belief itself, or with the hypocrites who use religion to feel superior? So, Alejandro, I don't know if you weren't here earlier on, but I made my feelings perfectly clear on that. I've got no problem with somebody that believes in God. Just don't try to force me to believe in God, and don't use your belief in God to claim that you're a better person than me somehow. What do you think?
I'm in full accord with that one. As long as you're believing, like I said, are you believing in God to feel good, or are you believing in God to be good? If you're believing in God to feel good, then by all means you do you. You know, it's a difficult thing confronting morality, or not morality, mortality. Sorry. You know, what's after this? It's a difficult thing, especially me as an atheist. Like, I've asked myself this question a lot. What happens after I die?
Do you know, that's just given me a thought. How many people believe in God because they're looking for comfort in where they may be going or what may happen after they die? I'm perfectly happy to accept that there's only two things that can happen to me after I die. One is I get burnt. The other is I get buried. I get to choose which one of those things happen. So are some people who are, believers in God, looking for comfort and looking to convince themselves that they're going somewhere better than where they are now?
Creaky, I think actually that's part of the reason why my dad is the way he is. Because he's an old man at this stage. And he's coming to terms with the fact that his life may be ending at any time. Hopefully not anytime soon. Of course, I love my father, and I wouldn't want to live my life without him. But but I think that's something that he confronts, and I think that's why he is so gripped on the Bible and these extremist people. Because he believes that there's something waiting for him at the end of the day, and I think that brings him comfort. Definitely.
And that would be fine. And I'm not just aiming this at your dad, but that would be completely fine if it was just a feeling that he kept in himself and didn't try to force you or other people to believe that as well. We're all free to believe whatever we want.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I do agree with that. I think as long as if you're doing it to bring yourself comfort, then it's fine. But if you're doing it like Kent Hovind and Matt Powell to spread hate and
Yeah,
be.
exactly. But the funny thing is, they can't seem to see that's what they're doing. You know, where I've been, I don't know if I've been lucky or unlucky to have 5 episodes of Whack an Atheist made about me.
Yeah, I think you should get yourself a badge, mate.
I know I should have a badge or something. But not once has he ever asked me if I am an atheist. He's just made a lot of assumptions. Admitting most of the assumptions are based around the fact that I say I don't believe in God, but that's irrelevant because I'm not Kent Hovind, the complete idiot fake doctor. But he always prefaces the episodes of Whack an Atheist with, it's done out of Christian love. No, it's not. It's done because you're a complete dick.
Yeah, and the fact
somebody challenging your beliefs.
Yeah, and the fact that that man sat there on that stream that you or that video that you reacted to of the last Whack an Atheist and could make light of the Aryan Brotherhood and them looking like them. It really shows you how disconnected these people are from a progressive society.
Exactly. Next question, Mr. Producer. Question for Stark. In other words, you should have started that off with, Creaky, please shut up. What should I say to a person who insists that God should be given credit for everything good that happens?
So, prove that God exists first. I mean, I can't give credit to a deity or to a being that I cannot for sure know exists. You know, everything but what about, but you can ask them, what about all this bad stuff that happens? Is this only Satan? You know, and then does Satan exist? You can't really, if they want to say, listen, God is the only proprietor of everything good, then they first need to be able to prove the existence of God, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. Before we take the next question, what is the side chat thinking of this conversation? Are you enjoying? And bear in mind that Uncle Stark is still here and he can see the side chat, so please be kind. Give us a thumbs up in the side chat if you're enjoying the conversation, and we will move on to the next question, please, Mr. Producer. Creaky Blinder, do you think that if they made statues of Jesus the right... Hang on a second, let me read that again. Do you think that if they made statues of Jesus the right color, it would end the Christian church?
Because Jesus was Middle Eastern.
I don't know, because that question sort of implies that you may or may not think that there's some sort of racist implications to the way Jesus is portrayed. I don't know. What do you think, Stark?
Most depictions of Jesus shows him as being a Caucasian male.
Yeah.
And if they portraying to look like Muhammad, for instance, it will definitely cause an uproar in the Christian community, I think.
Yeah.
I definitely do think that.
Yeah. So, okay. Next question, please, Mr. Producer, sir. Would you agree that people don't do things, for example, murder, etc., simply because the Bible says not to? Would you agree or disagree that those people might be dangerous?
So I mentioned that person that I had.
Before you start answering that, can you possibly take about 120 seconds to answer this question?
Sure. Is it that old man bladder coming in again?
It is, yeah. It is. Literally 2 minutes.
Okay, no problem. So I had that argument with that person on my gaming Discord, and he asked the exact same question. He said, if God isn't real, what's to stop me from going outside into the street and robbing people and assaulting people and murdering and raping and stuff like that? And I said, well, you know, firstly, that makes you a shitty person. You know, that's not supposed to be something that's on your mind. And my answer to that was the same as Pendulet's was. Is I rape and murder, or the exact amount of people that I want to, and that number is 0. So people like that won't necessarily be dangerous, but they are woefully ill-informed, and they're definitely not people who you want to take moral advice from, in my opinion. But the other part of that is because the Bible says not to. So I've actually got a theory on that one. So all of these disturbing Bible verses, they arranged the entire Bible through. It's not just the Old Testament where all these crazy things happened, or murder and stuff like that. And then the New Testament is all love, sunshine, and rainbows. There's violence throughout the entire book, right? So they say that God doesn't change his mind, right? So if God said in the Old Testament, listen, you can't commit murder, you can't steal, you can't covet thy neighbor, stuff like that. And then he changed his mind and he became this loving being in the New Testament. Does the 10 Commandments still apply? That's a good question to ask people who think like that. That's a contradiction well within itself.
Next question, please, Mr. Producer, seeing as I missed the answer to that one, but I'm sure it was amazing.
Thanks.
I
am trying.
I have faith in you.
That's a good application of faith.
Yeah, exactly. No, that would have been more a case of trust than faith, wouldn't it? I trusted that you would give a good answer. Is that the last? Oh, there we are. The Bible gives the commandment not to kill and then spends the rest of the book telling you who to kill and how.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That's the only answer to that, isn't it? Really, that's more of a statement of fact than a question.
Yeah, like I said, I've got a whole bunch of verses here where it says a whole bunch of controversial stuff. And yeah, the Bible contradicts itself around most corners.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next question from Brad Sweetman. Question. Oh, it's gone. If the devil is real, why would he punish you like God rewards for being good? Wouldn't the devil reward you for being bad? That's a very good point, actually.
So from what I can remember about what's being preached in church is that the devil has power over you while you're living, right? He can get you to do bad things, but it doesn't really have the power to reward you for those things. So when you're in hell, you're the general image that was painted is when you get in hell, you're going to be like, oh, so I did all these things and look at you, you're pathetic. So I don't think the devil is rewarding you. I think he's also just having a bad time.
But the thing is, so people like Matt and Kent say that if you're not Christian, you have no moral compass, so you don't know how to be good. You're not a nice person. So the devil, according to the Christian faith and any other faith, is the opposite of God. So God is good, the devil is bad. So using their own logic, how would the devil even know if you were being good or bad if he's got no moral compass and no way of distinguishing between the two?
Yeah, that's also a good way of putting it.
Yeah. How would he know if you were being bad? Because the devil can't possibly be a religious thinker. So by their own definition, he's got no idea of what's good or bad.
No, and I think
I hope that makes more sense coming out than I did. That make sense?
It made sense. It made sense, but I don't really know how to respond to that.
I don't really think there is a response to it. But
no,
take that, Kent Hovind. You are your dinosaurs, moron. Next question, please, Mr. Producer. From Farron Tilly again. The human being an animal, like the other 99.99% of animals. Funny how we're the only animal that thinks there is a God, or do we know that others don't? I think I read that really badly. The human being an animal, like 99% of other animals. How are we the only animal that thinks there is a God, or do we know that others don't?
I think there's a lot of research that still needs to be done in terms of like how cognitive other animals are. whether they believe or anything like. I don't think it really gets down to that, but that should speak volumes about why humans think there are gods, as opposed to how animals perceive it. I mean, I think your puppy would think you are the god, and your cat would believe they are the gods.
Yeah.
So it's
definitely evil.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
I told my fiance her cat's name is Satan. She fights me a lot about that. I even get that dirty look from her right now.
Next question, please, Mr. Producer. Why would the devil punish you once you're already in hell? He does not want to be there, and he does not want God to win. So doing what God wants does not make the least lick of sense. That ties into what I said just now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think also that Lucifer doesn't have a choice in the matter. He was banished from heaven. So whether he likes humans going there or not, if the place even existed, is irrelevant to him.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Christian fundamentalists, extremists, whatever you choose to call them, will say that you're going to go to hell to be punished. Isn't going to hell the punishment?
That is the punishment.
Yeah.
But then I've seen people or fundamentalist Christians also adopting the viewpoint that hell is not a place, hell is a feeling. And that feeling being described as being so removed from God and his divine grace. And that's what hell is. But that's just another interpretation of it.
Yeah.
I think the Christian faith at least literally implies that hell is a place, and there's flames.
Yeah,
it's the eternal flames, and you burn and get tortured, and I don't know what crazy stuff goes on there.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to go there. Then I burn very easily. Even if I read a holiday brochure for too long, I get sunburned. So I definitely don't want to go there.
You should come to South Africa for a good few months. You'll get a nice tan.
I can imagine. I don't tan. I fry. Is religion used for political manipulation?
I think it used to be back in the day. But nowadays, religion is more and more being removed from politics. But definitely back in the day, especially where Catholicism was involved with the crown. It's definitely used for political manipulation.
Yeah. I personally think that the Catholic faith is one of the worst.
I would actually, I would agree with that to a certain extent, because the Catholic faith has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't until like Martin Luther translated the Bible from Latin and made it available to the common folk that things started changing. Because back in the day, you could buy like a forgiveness card or something.
Yeah.
And then you can sin for a day, and if you fork up more money, you can sin for 7 days. Your sins are forgiven.
Yeah,
but you can do what you want as long as you pay the church.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely agree that the Catholic Church has definitely been in the show for a long time and doing some dodgy stuff.
Yeah. Next question, please, Mr. Producer. According to the Bible, God threw the devil out of heaven because the devil gave humans free will and knowledge. So does that make the devil the good guy? Yes.
Yeah. There's this quote that goes on Facebook that they want to have you interpret as a bad thing, and it goes along the lines of God says believe in him, the devil says believe in yourself. And I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself.
Because you've got to have self-belief to be able to do anything. Because if you super chat, thank you very much. If you were presented with a challenge and you don't believe that you can complete that challenge or rise to that challenge, then you're starting on the back foot. So you have to have belief in yourself, and if that means that the devil, who doesn't exist, has to be involved, then so be it.
Yeah. That actually brings me to another thing that was in that sermon, where the preacher said that we as humans are incapable of thoughts. Our thoughts originate either from God or from the devil. And I found that to be insulting.
Yeah.
Me considering myself a free thinking person, able to process what I perceive around me. Um, for someone to tell me that my thoughts are not my own, it's insulting.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
Exactly.
so yeah, I think the devil gets a bad rap.
Yeah, yeah. Next question, Mr. Producer. Is there a next question?
Mr. Producer says he thinks it's that. That's it.
That's
The
it.
chat is flying though.
Yeah, perfect timing, because it's 5 minutes to 9 o'clock, and everybody who's been here before will know that I like to finish by 9 o'clock because I was up very early this morning. Because
Same here.
I don't know what it is, but obviously I don't know how old you are or anything, but since the last couple of years, I just can't seem to sleep for more than 5 or 6 hours a night. I honestly don't know what the hell is going on with me.
I'm used to running on fumes.
Yeah, I think I've even run out of fumes. Super chat from Craig Hobbs. Religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. Yeah, because
Exactly.
a lot of religious people, in the context we are discussing it, use their belief in God. They wield it like a sword.
They do. And like I said, I think definitely religion was invented by man to control man.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
what an easy way to do it. I mean, convincing people that if you don't do what this book says and what
Yeah.
this preacher is telling you, then you're going to be eternally damned. And it terrifies people, especially people prone to believing these types of things. And I used to be terrified of it, Lord knows.
Yeah, exactly. But like me, you grew out of it and realized there was nothing to fear.
Yeah, life has been a lot better when I disregarded the belief.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because I think the void awaits us all. What was the 1800s to us? Nothing. So
Yeah.
what will 2100s be for us? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. We were here.
Yeah. But that's how they controlled you, and definitely the higher ups and the crown and everybody, they found that extremely useful at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, mate, listen, thank you very much indeed for joining me. It's been as interesting as I thought it was going to be, and I hope the audience have enjoyed it as well, because what I wanted to do tonight, I've mentioned briefly that I'm starting an extra show each week, and it's going to be another live show. But what it's going to be, I haven't decided on the time of day or even the day of the week yet, because I've got a few things going on in the next couple of weeks that are going to remove me from YouTube, which I will explain in a second. But I'm going to be starting a new show, which is going to be called The Breakdown. And it's basically going to be a call-in show or a conversational show like this. So the idea is that I will bring on a guest, possibly like Uncle Stark, and then once everything is set up properly and everything's running the way we want it to run, we will invite people not only to send in questions from the side chat, but they can actually call in and ask questions using Discord. So if you are interested in participating in that show when it starts mid-June, then join the Discord server, and that's where we'll be taking questions from. Because I just think, who doesn't love having a chat? I certainly do, and based on the numbers we've had watching us tonight, I'd like to think that people have enjoyed it as well. Yeah, Mr. Andrat, that was part of the reason why I stepped away from Agree to Disagree. Yeah, I need to focus on my own channel because this is my sole source of income now. So if I don't make this work, I'll be in big trouble. I'm going to be live again next Sunday, but then I will be away for 2 weeks because we are moving house. We're not moving far, but when we move into the new house, I have got builders starting on the day that we move into the new house, and I am having a studio built, but it's going to take about 2 weeks from beginning to end for them to build it for me. So I'm hoping that it'll have a space for me to make my normal videos from, which is this view without all these swanky things around, and then another, I don't know if set is the right word, but a different view when I'm having a conversation like this, or when I'm just spending 2 hours talking absolute nonsense like I normally do on a Sunday night. So my Sunday night live streams are not going anywhere. They're going to continue, but there will be another live show each week, but I don't know when it'll be yet. So while I'm away, because everybody that watches me knows that I'm completely incapable of coming up with my own ideas, so I have got 4 guest creators filling in for me. So there's still going to be videos going up on the channel on Tuesdays and Fridays. But next Sunday will be the last time you see me for 2 weeks. I know I would be heartbroken as well, but try to console yourselves. It's only going to be for 2 weeks. And I'd rather take a 2-week break to get everything back to where it needs to be than try and produce and upload videos from a spare bedroom or a downstairs or in the kitchen. I would rather take the 2-week break. So thank you very much indeed to everyone who's watched. Thank you to all the super chatters, people who've become channel members. There's been 3,026 views on this video so far, which always confuses me because it says 328 concurrent viewers. So I don't understand how YouTube works. But
it just works.
Yeah, it just works most of the time. I've seen some people in the side chat saying that there is some problem with the picture. I don't know why that is, but please remember, it's not always my fault. Sometimes try refreshing the page or whatever it may be. It's been fine my end. I don't know what's been going on, but I hope it hasn't distracted you too much from the conversation. So thank you very much, Uncle Stark. I really do appreciate you joining me, mate, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Very much. Thank you very much, Creaky. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, mate.
No problem at all. If you bear with me a second, I will say bye-bye to these lovely people. The only trouble is now, because this isn't my usual streaming software, I don't think I've got I haven't got a sign off. So I'll just say thank you very much for watching. Love you. Bye.